Yes, children. So next we are going to learn about Rabindranath Tagore, a great person with many talents. We say Rabindranath Tagore, a person with many great talents. Rabindranath Tagore, and our national anthem, Janagana Mana, our national song. It is our national anthem, Janagana Mana. It has written by whom? Rabindranath Tagore. Yes. Rabindranath Tagore was a poet, writer, philosopher and social worker. He was a poet, then he was a writer, then a great philosopher, then a social worker. As I said, a person with great talents, so many talents, okay. He was a great poet, a writer and great philosopher. Someone who love of wisdom, we say, a study about the fundamental natures of knowledge. That is, a philosopher is learning a study of the fundamental nature of knowledge about the existence, our existence, like the world, about the world. They learn the world in which we live, the relationship between world and the people, they interact each other, everything. They are learning in philosophy. So he was a great philosopher and social worker. He was born in 1816 in Kolkata. He founded Shanti Niketan, a school where students are imparted education in natural surroundings. So he founded Shanti Niketan. He founded Shanti Niketan. Actually, it is a school, a kind of school where how the education is imparted, in the natural surroundings, not like today's school. He used to give education in such a way that they gave more importance to literature and arts, the written works, literature and arts like painting, music, drama, dance, everything they have given more important, and they are imparting education in natural surroundings, not inside a building, outside in the nature. They see in the nature and learning. Okay. Tagore composed music which is popularly known as Rabindra Sangeet. Tagore composed music and it is known as Rabindra Sangeet. Rabindra Sangeet. And his Bengali songs have been translated to English. Whatever he has written in Bengali have been translated to English. His most famous literary work is a compilation of songs known as Geetanjali. Geetanjali is the famous work of Rabindranath Tagore, and his famous literary work, it is a compilation, combination of his songs, whatever songs he has written, or together it is in Geetanjali. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913. He has also got Nobel Prize and becoming the first non-European person to be awarded this prize. He was the first person to get this Nobel Prize who is not a European, okay, to be awarded this prize. Okay, first Indian we say. So Rabindranath Tagore was a great poet, a writer, a philosopher and social worker. He founded Shanti Niketan as a school which impart education in natural surroundings, and also they gave great importance to arts and literature. Then his Bengali songs all they translated to English, and famous work is Geetanjali, and he awarded Nobel Prize, first person to award the Nobel Prize in India. Yes, students, so about Rabindranath Tagore, we learnt he was a great poet, great writer and great philosopher and a social worker too. Is a man with many or different talents, we say. Okay, he was the author of our national anthem Janagana Mana. He has written that national anthem. Okay. and he was born in Kolkata. He founded Shantiniketan. Actually, it is a school where students are imparted education in natural surroundings. Okay, and they give more importance or more emphasis on art and literature, like written works and even painting, dance, music, etc. And he composed music which is known as Rabindra Sangeet. And his all Bengal songs, whatever he has written in Bengali, everything has been translated to English. And his famous work is called Geetanjali. Okay, famous literary work is a compilation of the songs, whatever songs he has written. It is in Geetanjali we can see all those songs. Okay, and he was the first Indian to get the Nobel Prize for literature. So we should be more proud to tell that Rabindranath Tagore was the first Indian to receive the Nobel Prize for literature in 1913. Okay, children? Yes. So children, next is about Amartya Sen. Okay, Amartya Sen. Amartya Sen. Okay, Amartya Sen won the Nobel Prize for Economics in 1998. He is the first Indian economist to have achieved this honor. He is the first Indian economist to get this Nobel Prize for Economics. He was born in Shantiniketan in 1933. It is said that Rabindranath Tagore gave him the name Amartya. Who gave him this name? Rabindranath Tagore. He gave Amartya Sen the name Amartya, and the meaning of Amartya is immortal, means something that cannot die. When he was 9 years old, he experienced the Bengal famine, in which lakhs of people lost their lives due to starvation. So when Amartya Singh was very small, when he was 9 years old, what happened? In Bengal there was a great famine. Famine means shortage of food or no food, lack of food. Because of that, people in Bengal, they suffered a lot of people die. Okay, so he faced that. Okay, so this experience is reflected in many of his great writings. So whatever he has written or in all his writings, this is specially seen, or this problem, the people that faced that famine, everything is clearly mentioned, or we can say in all his writings it contains about Bengal famine. Okay, Sen has done studies on famines because he experienced that famine, the lack of food, shortage of food. He studied about this, how to improve this condition of the shortage of food, how to improve that. He studied on famines for the improvement of the living conditions of poor people in India. He was also awarded Bharat Ratna in 1999. Children, so we were learning about Amartya Sen. Okay, so Amartya Sen, he won the Nobel Prize for Economics, isn't it? And he is the first Indian economist who have achieved this honor. He was an economist actually. Economist is a person who studies about the different resources in our country, including money, food, all the resources, what all things are there in the country, everything this economists will learn. They will collect all the information and they will present it, and they will advise government about that. So they are the persons who study about about our country's resources, we say about agriculture, about money, everything. Okay, so he is the first Indian economist who achieved this honor. He was born in Shantiniketan, and Rabindranath Tagore said that he gave him the name Amartya, which means something which cannot die. So when he was 9 years old, because he faced the famine of the people in Bengal, famine means no food, because of the shortage of food, lack of food, many people die in Bengal. He has seen that, he has faced that. So that experience he has reflected, or it is there in all his writings. He has included that in every writings of his book, and he tried to learn about them, about the living conditions. He tried to improve because he experienced this famine. He studied about it, and he improved, or for famine he tried to make improvement for the living conditions of the poor people in India, and he got Bharat Ratna also in 1999. Next is about C.V. Raman. Okay, C.V. Raman. Who is C.V. Raman? C.V. Raman, Sir Chandrasekhar Venkata Raman. C for Chandrasekhar and V for Venkata. Sir Chandrasekhar Venkata Raman was the first Indian scientist. He was an Indian scientist. He was the first Indian scientist to win the Nobel Prize in 1930 for the study of light. Now we are enjoying the lights, isn't it? So there is a great effort or hard work behind that all. So this he learned about that, he studied about that, and he got the award. Okay, then he was born near Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu in 1888. His work in the field of physics is nothing but a branch of science. In science there are different branches like physics, chemistry, biology we say. So physics is one of the branch in the science where they learn about different kinds of matter or motions or energy or sound, light, heat, everything they learn in this branch of science, physics. Okay. So and his work in the field of physics has been recognized by all over the world. He was also the first to work on the scientific nature of sound. He was the first person who working on the scientific nature of sound that produced by the Indian musical instruments, mainly drums and strings. Okay, consisting of drums and strings. He also won the highest civilian award of India, Bharat Ratna. Bharat Ratna is the highest civilian award of India. Actually, Government of India started 2 civilian awards, and one is Bharat Ratna and other is Padma Vibhushan. So this is the highest civilian award, Bharat Ratna, and C.V. Raman received that award in 1954. So Sir Chandrasekhar Venkata Raman, he was the first scientist, okay, to award the Nobel Prize, and he worked in the field of physics, and it has recognized by all over the world, and he was the first person to work on the scientific nature of sound that produced by the instruments that consists with drums and strings, and he also won the highest civilian award called Bharat Ratna Award. Bharat Ratna Award in 1954. Bharat Ratna Award in 1954. And his CV is Chandrasekhar Venkata Raman. Okay, that is about C.V. Raman. So we learned about Amartya Sen and C.V. Raman. Amartya Sen means Amartya Sen, who is he? Yes, he was the economist, or first he won the Nobel Prize for economics, and Tagore gave the name Amartya, which means something that cannot die. Yes, and he has done studies on famines for the improvement of the living conditions of poor people. He also got Bharat Ratna. And C.V. Raman is Chandrasekhar Venkata Raman. He was the first scientist to get the Nobel Prize. He also received Bharat Ratna, and his famous work is on the field of physics and about the scientific sound that he worked on, scientific work of sound, nature of sound that produced by the Indian musical instruments consisting of drums and strings. Okay, children? Yes, children, it's time to recall. India is a land of great personalities. We learned about those personalities in this lesson, isn't it? Yes. Kabir was a saint and tirelessly preached harmony between Hindus and Muslims. So, India is a land of great persons, so great personalities. First personality we learned about whom? Kabir Das, isn't it? Kabir Das. or Kabir we say, isn't it? He was a great saint and a poet, and his famous, his poems and dohas are very famous, and he always believed in one God, and he always tried to maintain a harmony between Hindus and Muslims, and his famous work is there in the holy book of Sikh Guru Granth Sahib. Then we learned about Tansen, isn't it? Tansen is a great, he was a great musician, we say, great music composer of Hindustani classical music. Then he was not only an expert in singing but also at instrumental music. Then he was one of the 9 jewels among the Mughal Emperor Akbar's court. Then it is believed that because of the power of his singing, wherever he sing in that area, because of this Raga Deepak and Raga Megha Malhar, Raga Deepak could light lamps and Raga Megha Malhar could bring down rain. Then we learned about the famous Indian mathematician and astronomer who was Aryabhatta. Aryabhatta was a famous mathematician as well as an astronomer, and he wrote several books on mathematics and astronomy. Then he claimed that Earth rotates on its axis, and he calculated the distance between the planets and the distance between the planets he calculated, and he set up an astronomical observatory in Bihar where we can see the distant objects through the instruments. Then we learned about Dada Saheb Phalke. Dada Saheb Phalke. We learned about Dada Saheb Phalke, who is known as the father of Indian cinema. Yes, because of his great passion or great emotion and feeling on cinema, he learned or he studied art in Mumbai. Then he went to England and he learned about art and technology, and he made his first Indian film called Raja Harichandra. First Indian film, though the film has no sound, because in earlier days there was no sound, it was silent film, but people enjoyed a lot, and still his works are very famous, and Government of India instituted an award on his honor. Then we learned about Mirza Ghalib. Mirza Ghalib. We learned about Mirza Ghalib, a famous Urdu poet, isn't it? Yes, he used to write poems in Urdu language, and he not only he was a poet, he was also a royal historian in the court of Mughal King Bahadur Shah Zafar, and many of his poems have been composed as ghazals. Then many Urdu poets, they were inspired by his poems. Then institutes like Ivan E. Ghalib in Delhi has been set up to honor his work. Then we learned about Chanakya. Chanakya is an advisor of the king or the emperor Chandragupta Maurya, and he taught at University of Taxila. There he used to teach, and his main important works, or the two important works of Chanakya, was Arthashastra and Niti Shastra. Where in Arthashastra, what it is written or it is discussed about how to spend the money, and also about the foreign relations, and also about the war strategies, the general plans on war. Then Niti Shastra talks about an ideal Indian way of life. These are the two famous or important works of Chanakya, Arthashastra and Niti Shastra. Okay, he taught at which university? University of Taxila. Then next we learned about another famous Indian mathematician who is known as Srinivasa Ramanujan. Srinivasa Ramanujan, a famous Indian mathematician. and he, even though he couldn't complete the schooling, he continued to learn the mathematics and he developed formulas. He sent to England, university at England, and they invited there because of its extraordinary talent. And he born in Tamil Nadu. He was born in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu celebrates every year 22nd December in his memory. Then we learned about Munshi Premchand. Munshi Premchand. Who was he? Yes, he was he used to write many stories, novels and plays, a great writer, and he faced poverty because of that, but still he didn't stop his writing. He continued his writing, and his works have sensitively focused on the life of the poor people in India. And Manasarovar is one of his famous story, and Ida with children as characters, it is very famous still today. Then we learned about Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, who dedicated or devoted her life, the whole life, to help the poor and needy. So she likes to serve as a missionary. So she came to India. Then she taught at convent school in Kolkata. Then she took basic medical training to serve the poor and the diseases, and she even got the Nobel Prize and also Bharat Ratna. Then Rabindranath Tagore, a man of multi-talents we say, or a man with many talents. Rabindranath Tagore, who wrote our national anthem Jana Gana Mana. Rabindranath Tagore, who won the first Indian who won the Nobel Prize. So he was a great poet, writer and philosopher, and also social worker. Then he founded Shanti Niketan, and also he composed music which is popularly known as Rabindra Sangeet, and his famous work is Geetanjali. Yes. Then we learned about Amartya Singh, and Rabindranath Tagore gave this person Amartya Sen as Amartya, which means something that cannot die. He was a famous Indian economist, and he mainly studied on famine, because in Bengal he has seen people die because of no food, shortage of food. So he focused on mainly on famine. He studied about that, and he for the improvement of the living conditions of the people in India, he also got Bharat Ratna. Then we learned about C.V. Raman, Chandrasekhar Venkata Raman, whose main work is on the field of physics. We say study of light, isn't it? For that he got Nobel Prize, and his work in the field of physics has been recognized all over the world. He was the first to work on the scientific nature of sound produced by the Indian musical instruments, consisting of drums and strings. So he also won the highest civilian award called Bharat Ratna in 1954. So these are the famous or great Indian personalities, their works or their achievements, their contributions to India, people of India, or all over the world. Okay, then so we learned about them, isn't it? India is a land of great personalities. Kabir was a saint and tirelessly preached harmony between Hindus and Muslims. Tansen won one of the 9 jewels in Akbar's court. Mother Teresa won Nobel Prize in 1979. Rabindranath Tagore was the first non-European person to be awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. Okay children, that's about our lesson. Now we'll go to the exercise part, exercise of the lesson 12, our human heritage. Okay children.